Do you know the difference between a Beaujolais and a Chardonnay? What is the proper way to serve wine and pair it with food? And how does Virginia wine fare in comparison? Bill Curtis knows wine. He tastes every wine he sells. At his wine shop and restaurant Tastings in Charlottesville, Bill shares his expertise with anyone who'll ask.
It's my job to better match wines with people's palates, to make your palate comfortable with whatever wine you're drinking. So, to me, a lot of people want to run to a book, hoping that a book will tell them what to look for. I've never found a book that's going to give you the kind of insights that you're going to find yourself from drinking wine. Uh, 95% of what you perceive about a wine you perceive through your nose, not through your palate. Your palate and your taste buds are very primitive organs that were, originally came about because primitive man had to survive. Salty, sweet, bitter, he had to know when things were bad, et cetera, et cetera. All the higher functions of your brain are tied to your nose. So the smell of a wine, usually with a little practice, will tell you almost everything you need to know about it. The volatility of the alcohol, is it high in alcohol? How much extract, what kind of perfume, what kind of bouquet or aroma you get off the wine. These are all very important, the most important by far, senses that you're going to get from wine. If you think finding the interaction between you and wine is a complicated kind of thing, then finding the interaction between you and wine and food is even more complicated. There are people, for instance, who think the duty of a wine, or their idea of a wine and food combination, is for the wine just to disappear, just to be nice with the food. There are other people who want all sorts of, atomic explosions to go off in their mouth with the wine and the food. And then there's all sorts of degrees in between. So you really have to find out what you're trying to accomplish with a food and wine combination. There are classical combinations that you can pretty much go with as far as somebody coming in and saying, okay, I'm having chicken for dinner and I want a red wine. You say, okay, a lighter red like a Barbera or a Pinot Noir is going to fit the bill. Oh, I hate Pinot Noir. What else can you get me? Okay, we got a light Zinfandel or a strawberry scented kind of Beaujolais. Those will do very well with chicken. But again, it's my job. I taste all the wines that come in here, so that I can give you a flavor profile of pretty much anything that's here. And when you ask me about a food and wine combination, I'm going to spit back to you what I like as a food and wine combination, unless you give me some information. Unless you can tell me that, no, I want the wine to sort of disappear in the mouth, or yes, I'd like for it to really enhance the food. Well, I think I can do that. One of the most curious experiments you can do just starting off is simply pour a glass of wine in your living room. Do it on a clear day that's not overcast. Do it on a low humidity day. Pour a glass of wine, smell, taste the wine, take it outside, smell it and taste it. It'll taste totally fresher and different and somehow more alive outside than it does inside. And the only reason I can think for that is an infinite amount of oxygen. Inside, you're in a closed area no matter how big your house, et cetera, et cetera. Outside, you're in fresh air. It's like a ground wire, infinite amount of electrons. This is an infinite amount of oxygen, and the wine just comes alive when you're drinking it outside. I mean, to me, it happens all the time. And one thing I have against professional tastings in small, closed rooms is that, after a while, the whole air is laden with, smells that you don't even notice, because after something like 15 minutes, your nerve endings and your nose get, dulled to that kind of smell. So it dulls all your senses. If you could move from one room to the next as you're tasting a flight of wines, it makes it a better venue. If you could somehow do it outside, it makes it an incredible venue. But then again, we don't normally drink wine outside, so maybe that's a incorrect place to do that. But it is amazing the difference if you just try it. And it's a good thing to do, because it makes you realize how much your palate is a moving target. How much wine, the same wine you buy this wine, you take it home, you have it on a romantic evening with your wife, either significant other, and boy, it's just a bloody marvelous wine. Well, then you buy it and come back and say, oh, I'll take a case of that. And you try the next bottle, and it's in the middle of the afternoon, and it's not with dinner, and it's because your mother-in-law's over, and, you know, it's not a kinder, gentler situation, and you say, oh, that wine was terrible. It happens time and time again. A lot of times wine is about mood, you know, time of service, how much you aerate the wine, et cetera, et cetera. Your palate's a moving target. It's best to stand the wine up. If it has this kind of visible particulate matter, if you shake the bottle very much, usually it's pretty fine. Different grape types, it's different, you know, different degrees of fineness in sediment. Pinot Noir Burgundy is the worst. It's the most fine. So you have to treat it the most gently. You have to stand it up for a certain length of time till the wine is clear and you see a lot of sediment on the bottom. It's best to tilt it like this so that the sediment's all going to be underneath, and you can pick this bottle up very gently, set it down, take the cork out, decant it, you know, over a flame, simply because you can look down through the neck of the bottle and see when the particulate matter starts to come through the neck of the bottle, and then you can stop pouring. What you want to wind up with is an absolute clear decanter of wine here, and some stuff that looks like jam in here. In Europe, where they don't have much ice and don't have many refrigerators and love to taste things that are more full-bodied, they serve their whites warmer than us and their reds colder than us, you know, because room temperature in Europe is usually 68 or so. So, you know, to chambre a wine, to bring it up to room temperature in Europe, usually means something different than to serve room temperature wine in America. Europeans would say, Americans are brought up from day one to have everything ice cold. That's because we have a huge amount of basically free electricity compared to places in Europe. So we can have ice makers and we can really ice things down. But the most curious thing you could do for yourself is to taste white wines, for instance, at 3 different temperatures. Taste it at, you know, iced temperature. Taste it at refrigerator temperature, which is going to be 10 degrees warmer, and then taste it 10 degrees warmer than that, and see how you like it. You know, there are a lot of Italian white wines, for instance, that are just absolutely beautiful aromatically, but if you serve them on ice, at ice temperature, you're going to lose all of that. You're just going to think the wine's water. Virginia wines are, you know, still suffer a little bit from the old-time equation of, well, they're too expensive and they're not that good and this, that, and the other. My next question is, well, what Virginia wines have you been drinking? Because I think there are a few wineries in the state, very few, that are not, you know, up to snuff. Unfortunately, in an industry as small as Virginia wine industry, where you have 100 wineries or less, 3 or 4 wineries make a big, huge negative impression. But Virginia wines seem to have a different structure to them. They seem, despite the climate, which would tend to make you think that they have lower acidities, I find that most Virginia wines have real acidic backbones to them, which I don't find a lot with California wines. I find that Virginia wines, vis-a-vis California wines, have the same correct varietal flavors, fruit that is a bit more balanced in terms of, you know, the fruit to acid ratio, what we call the structure of the wine. It's a bit more structure in most of them. I don't find as many round roly-poly wines from Virginia as I find from California, which I think a lot of them are mass-produced, mass-marketed for a, you know,